Also, coming back to what we were discussing last week, was the issue that we could be dragged into a war by Boris Johnson because of Donald Trump, basically to get a trade deal done with the US. And of course, Trump basically got called out by Iran, as he did in North Korea. He ultimately lost that fight. There is no other way to really explain it. You know, Iran may still have more sanction on it, but now it showed America there was nothing. There's a farce. And showed what Donald Trump was. He was a complete clown. But what should be really scary is the fact that, as I just said, we could be dragged into a war against our will because Johnson wants a trade deal with the US. And lo and behold, what do we see being reported today? Trump threatened the UK with 25% car tariffs unless it agreed to accuse Iran of breaking the nuclear deal. Donald Trump threatened the UK with a 25% tariff on its cars unless the British government officially accused Iran of breaking the 2015 nuclear deal, it has been reported. The secret threat last week, first reported by the Washington Post, which cited unnamed European officials, would have seen the tariff imposed on all European automobile imports to the UK unless Britain, France, and Germany agreed to the ultimatum. It came days before the three European powers on Thursday triggered a dispute mechanism under the agreement, which does amount to a formal accusation against Tehran of violating its terms. It could lead to the reinstatement of United Nations sanctions, but it is also being framed by the Europeans as a last chance to save the nuclear deal. Iran said on Thursday that the European countries had succumbed to a high school bully. Appeasement confirmed. E3 sold out remnants of the deal to avoid new Trump tariffs. Iran's foreign minister wrote on Twitter, and using the acronym of the 2015 Accord's official title. It won't work, my friends. You only whet his appetite. Remember your high school bully. The 2015 pact was agreed between Tehran and the world's powers, offering Iran relief from sanctions if it curbed its nuclear work. Mr. Trump withdrew the deal in 2018 and reimposed US sanctions, telling Tehran he wanted a more stringent deal on nuclear and other issues. Iran has responded to the US sanctions by scaling back its compliance with the deal, culminating with an announcement that this month it would reject all limits on production of enriched uranium. Throughout it all, it says it wants to keep the deal in place. And it was. That's the thing. This deal was a good deal. Trump didn't like it because Obama did it. That seems to be one of the things, a hallmark of his presidency. If Obama did it, he wants to get rid of it and redo it himself so that he can have some sort of legacy. That seems to what he wants to do: tear down Obama's and basically rebrand it as himself. So Boris Johnson said that a Trump deal could replace the existing one were it to fail, while Paris said that broad talks were needed. Two European diplomats confirmed to the Washington Post that the US had threatened tariffs, but the leaders said of the three European countries had already decided to trigger the mechanism before that. A third diplomat said that US tactics only undermined the Europeans who were trying to apply pressure independently. True or not, if it has the effect on discrediting the Europeans, but then Trump doesn't really care about that, the diplomat said. From the Iranian side, it just proves that the US is only in the matter for this. The Europeans have long been opposed to Trump's decision to withdraw from the nuclear deal, but have been threatening for months to trigger the dispute mechanism if Iran did not comply with it. The dispute mechanism begins a complex diplomatic process that can end in UN sanctions on Iran snapping back into place, although the Europeans say that is not their aim. In triggering the dispute mechanism, the European countries said that they were not backing a US policy of maximum pressure on Iran, and that they still hope to salvage the nuclear deal. The nuclear deal, despite dispute, lies at the heart of Iran's long-running standoff with the West and has spiraled into open conflict this month when Washington killed the Iranian general Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad, and Tehran responded with missile strikes on US bases in Iraq. Despite the period of high alert, Iran shot down a civilian airliner in what it says was a tragic mistake. It has triggered anti-government protests at home. Enrichment of uranium can also be used to create material for nuclear warheads. Iran denies Western accusations it wants such weapons and says that it wants nuclear material for peaceful purposes. And by the way, before someone says, "Oh no, they're not doing that," under that deal, they've had to allow inspectors to inspect all this. Every single time they've gone in and inspected them, they've come out clean. So once again, there is no reason to get rid of this deal. It is a good deal. Trump just wants to get rid of it and put his own deal. Then it can be the Trump deal rather than the Obama deal. We are enriching more uranium than before the deal was reached, President Hassan Rouhani said in a televised speech. The pressures have increased on Iran and we are continuing to aggress. US sanctions, meanwhile, have hammered Iran's economy. Washington aims to reduce its oil exports to zero, which again would harm Iran. Look, you can't go around and just start bullying people because of this. And the whole thing is they don't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon because it might use it on Israel. Look, that's a dumb idea. No one in their right mind would think of using a nuclear missile because it would be an instant eradication. They know it, but also, in a way, you sort of want Iran to get a nuclear weapon because this essentially means that the US can't bully Iran. Just look at North Korea. If North Korea didn't have nuclear weapons or nuclear weapons capabilities, it would have been gone off the map years ago. So in a way, I want that deal to continue. Those were good, and that, if that deal is in place, it is a good starting point to continue further talks with Iran, talks that can lead to good and peaceful things. And the other thing is that what people aren't paying attention to is that there is a massive middle class in Iran that is becoming more and more secular that will affect the country as a whole. Eventually, just like in Turkey and in Egypt, the idea of the religious laws and religious domination should control the country will be phased out and fizzle away. And, that's a good thing in the long run. Iran should look at moving towards a secular style of government and getting rid of the idea that, religious laws should be the absolute be-all and end-all when it comes to forming a government. And, we have seen other countries in the Middle East slowly but surely start to shift towards this. And this is something that in the West we should be supporting, but unfortunately we're not. So there you go.